Everyone, and you welcome to POP, Program Over Perfection. We are talking about money and couples with Karen Adams from Financial Management 101. Last time we talked about prenup and why it's important to have a prenup. In this episode, we're going to talk about estate planning. Hello, Karen. How are you?
How are you?
Nice to see you again. Let's talk about estate planning. What is the mistakes that people do when they're planning estates?
Number one is they don't have a will in place. The amount of couples I talk to and individuals about managing their money, and they don't have a basic will, which says in the event of you passing, what happens to your money. And when you don't, the government then decides, and we don't want the government to decide.
What happens if I don't have a will? And what could happen if the government decide for me?
Yeah, well, if you don't have a will, then you're relying on someone who's not invested in you emotionally or takes into consideration what happens. If you've got children or children in a blended family, they are not going to have your best interests because they personally don't know you. So they're going to be very clinical, and you're leaving it to the government who's going to take their percentage, so more money out of your estate, to actually work out who gets your money. So the reason we have a will is because it gets and I've got a really good estate lawyer that I'd love you to have a chat with. She breaks it down, and we've done a podcast on this to help people understand that when you don't have a will, it becomes very messy. It takes time because you have to apply for probate through the government. There's no one to actually, no executor. So let's backtrack. When you have a will, the lawyer sits down and he goes, okay, now we're going to do a will just to grant your wishes on, in the event of you passing, what happens to all your house, your furniture, your car, what happens to your children that are maybe underage, dependents under 18. We need to clearly document what happens in the event that you pass this earth. So first thing is, they go, who do you trust most? Because they are going to be the executor. They are the person that's going to actually instruct and move things around as according to your will, the document that says what you want. So I've got a will in place, and it says my executor is my brother. My brother has the right over when I pass to follow the instructions of what happens to my jewelry, what happens to the house, what happens to this. Now, I'm married, so my spouse naturally will get that because that's part of our will. But if we're both gone, then he has to act on what happens. Now, if we have a child, as of next year, she won't be a dependent, so she'll make her own decisions. She'll be over 18. But if she was under, we've already put a provision that in the event that she needs care because she's underage, then who is going to be the guardian looking after her? Imagine if you don't have that, and then we've got blended families where another relationship's come into the party. You've got no will, and what happens to child on this relationship, child on that one, you come together and have another child, you got his, hers, and theirs. It makes it very messy. And then it takes a very long time because someone now has to step in to actually manage that. And if you're trying to pay bills or, pay for things because there's you needed that money, basically, and you're in that relationship, you won't have that ability because your bank accounts freeze up when that person passes away and they've got a bank account in their name. It just, when you get notified that you've passed, yeah. So you then, when you have a will, you take the death certificate and the will to say that you are the executor or you have the authority to act on that behalf, and you can start paying those bills or paying those things that need to be paid. Very messy.
Yeah, very, very messy. But can I ask you one thing? Because this, what happened to someone I worked with, and the grandfather left a lot of money, and when he died, but he had a will that this person was the executor, correct? The executor?
Executor, yeah.
Executor. What happened is that the brother took this person in court because he said that the grandfather did the will when he didn't understand what he was doing. And he actually won the case. So how much really the will works?
It's a tough one, Mauro, because it happened to my uncle, who he and his brother were to inherit the farm, and the daughter, there was three in the family, had already got paid her portion. When the boys went to sell, she came back into the court and said, well, I want some of that. And they fought, and in the end, they just gave her a small portion of that. So it can be challenged, and it is. It's in the cases where there is a challenge and there could be an unfair, someone's been taken out of the will because they're going, you've just been a horrible person, I'm going to take you out. That happens. And that person goes, but I wasn't a horrible person. It was a new partner coming in that tried to pull it away.
Yeah.
That can challenge, it can win. Because in some cases, a new party coming in or a brother or sister that felt like they weren't justly part of that will, or someone was coerced. So yeah, it can be challenged and they can win. Not 100%, but it's a guide to say when it goes to court, this is what these person's wishes were. And it's a guide then for the judge to go, right, why did that person want that person? Because that's how they felt. This is the family dynamics. This is how it works.
This is why the next question will be, why do family seem close and that with this bitter conflict when someone died? What is actually about the conflict?
That's probably more your expertise why people do it. It's because why are they challenging the will? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Why these people when there is a will in place? What is about really?
Because I guess when I look at it, people feel they're money hungry, right? They're greedy. Some cases they're greedy. I've seen it in another family circle is that they were greedy. Another one was spite. And another one was, I felt like I contributed, but I got nothing. And so it was more out of anger. Human beings, we are driven by money to some degree. Yeah. You watch, as soon as someone passes, watch all the vultures come in. Right, see if there's anything for me here. But we've never spent that time with that person. So that person never put you in the will. So why would you have that person in there if all of a sudden an extended family goes, oh, now grandma's got this inheritance that's been passed down to this other grandchild, I'm going to see if I can get a dip of that. We're just greedy.
And that's
my opinion, of course.
They can actually do it?
I don't know if they're going to win. If there's a case that person has never spent time with that person and the judge knows that the vultures are coming out, they may not win. But if there's a case where they felt like they were just unjustly left out of a will because grandma had a beef with this person just because she didn't like them, it can do it all. It's really how the judge or how the person who's handling that case at the time, all the evidence they presented, how they felt. So it's not a black and white ruling in some cases.
So do you think at this point the will should be done in front to everybody with a signature that everybody agreed on the will?
Well, I've had that conversation with my lawyer friend, and she says sometimes if they're amicable, she would like to get them all in, and she knows grandma's going in inheritance because grandma has sat with her. However, there is a will, which I'm not going to go into. It's a testamentary trust that says grandma can will for 80 years down a line, and if it's done right, it can't be contested in some cases. Okay. That's where my lawyer friend will be best to answer that one. But a testamentary trust is another way of saying that, okay, I want these grandkids to get this money and it's going to go 80 years down that line.
Okay. Wow. What is the best conversation that couple can have about this matter?
About getting a will set up or making sure that things are in place? Yeah. Look, firstly, they need to find out if they've got a current will in place as individuals. If not, I would get them to go and get one sorted straight away. It makes life easier for the surviving spouse to actually deal with it. When you both pass and you unfortunately have a car accident together and you're both gone and then you've got a dependent, the will actually then will clearly state what happens to that child. So you're looking after, your wishes are being granted. Who is your executor? Who do you trust most to make sure that those assets are distributed according to your wish? So firstly, I would say to a couple, do you have a will? No. And this is what a lot of people do. When I work with them, then go and get a will. Do you have someone you trust to actually prepare that? Yes? Great. No? Then I'll give you the name of someone who I trust who will make sure it's set up according to your wishes. Okay. When you go to them, they're going to ask, who's the executor? And that is a person that you trust to actually handle distributing the assets, handle making sure that things are done. Are there any kids involved? So you need to think, who's going to look after them? So these are the things you need to consider when you go to get your will done. And then it's a matter of just starting with a conversation. Do we have a will in place? No. Then we need to start to get one done. Do we have one? Yes. Is it current? Because We came together and we didn't have children and we didn't have a house. Have we included that clause in our will to cover in the event of children? This is what happens. No, then you need to get it updated. When you change your name, I went from a maiden name to a married name. I have to get my will updated. It makes it cleaner when the court enables the executor to handle my will. If you don't. So you've just got to make sure everything's clean and tidy. And it doesn't cost much to get one updated either. We just updated ours probably about last year.
What is the cost?
It depends on it'll be anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000, depending on the complexity. I have a company, so mine's a little bit more complicated. I've got some other things in place, so mine was a little bit more because I want to do some more protection in place. But a standard will isn't expensive. My lawyer friend said that if you look at the will kits, they don't cover a lot of things that you need to protect yourself, so it opens it up to interpretation. So that's why it's always best to go to a legal representative to actually draft up exactly what you want. And they spend the time asking all the detailed questions that some of these will kits don't do. But worst case scenario, I always say to people, if you can't afford to get to see a lawyer straight away, write up exactly your intent and get it witnessed and do the proper witnessing with the way that the legal system wants to do, witness and date.
Even your writing with a witness can be legally accepted.
Yeah. I had someone say to me that because when my will, they actually put the wrong beneficiary. They put my sister-in-law because we were the same maiden name because she married my brother. And so when the event of my husband dying, she was going to get. And so we didn't pick that up because we're both the same maiden name. But I get on with my sister-in-law, so that was fine. So in the meantime, we changed our will. Where was I going with that comment? I was thinking of something else in. By updating it, it means it's secured now where my wishes were to go to. But my friend said that with my case, if my husband just said null and void, that this will is null and void, that means that automatically would go to myself because I am the surviving spouse. But again, check all this first because it's very complicated. And when it comes to wills, you need to do it right. And once you've done it right, you've actually got a legally binding agreement that says in the event, this is what happens.
Okay. Do you think couples should do one for them, for the couple, and one separate?
You actually, when you do a will,
yeah,
you do it individually because it's your will, your testament. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you and your wife would have one each because it states what happens in the event of what happens to you in the event of your passing and then when it happens to her. But it actually says if you both pass together, then it tells you, the will tells you step-by-step instruction what happens in the event that one survives and one doesn't survive and when there's children. And that's what I'm saying. Getting a lawyer to do it means it actually takes out the complication.
Okay. No, interesting. Again, it's something that is I don't have a will, not yet. Yes, my wife have. I didn't because I think I will never die.
Okay, well, you're going to make her life hell in the event that something happens to you, because what's going to happen is she'll still have to apply to actually handle your assets. So definitely get a will, please, Mauro.
Yes, this I'm going to write it down. Okay, get a will. No, you're right. You're right. I can see that. I can see how important is having a will, and I think.
Well, you make her life hell, your wife's life hell, because you die intestate. It means you die without a will. So she has to go and apply to actually act on your behalf to manage any assets and go to bank accounts and things like that. So having a will means it makes things easy, and dying intestate is not an easy process, dying without a will. Another thing I want to raise is, and I just want to share from an education perspective, not providing advice. When you get a will, the lawyer will ask whether you want to set up a power of attorney or enduring power of attorney. I'm just going to explain what that is. It's basically a power of attorney. Enduring power of attorney means that you hold the power to act on that person's behalf to manage all the financial affairs, handle any property management, handle the bank accounts. Okay, so that's a person you absolutely trust that will do the right thing by you. The next step is an enduring power of attorney. The event that person becomes incapacitated, has an accident, can't function, dementia, you have the authority to act on their behalf to basically manage their affairs, to help look after them and get them the best care they need. power of attorney, enduring power of attorney. Now, when that person passes, they cut off. It doesn't become valid anymore. It's only while the person is alive.
Yep.
And that's when the will and the estate planning side of it says what happens to the instructions of that person's assets.
Yeah. No, is of course everything we say in these full interviews are a suggestion, and if you need to have a better explanation about what you can do for yourself, please talk with a lawyer, talk with someone that actually do this job, and make sure that you have all the information that you need for your case.
The circumstances we're all very different, and we all have different needs and requirements. So.
Absolutely. Now, this is important because I think it's a beautiful conversation to have because too many couples, and I'm the first one to say, you don't think this stuff because nobody teach you this stuff. And you learn when you talk with someone like you, for example, Karen.
We're in a different world now where it was more blended families. There's more money in the system. It's a lot more complicated. So we need to protect ourselves and our family by just putting some simple things in place.
Yeah. Look, is there is anything else that you want to talk about this topic that maybe I didn't ask?
No, just get a will or check your will. Make sure it's current. Make sure there's things in place, because if it's an invalid will, that's still like not having a will. It makes it very difficult for the surviving people around to manage your affairs. So I'd always say, 1, get a will if you don't have one. 2, check your current will to make sure it meets that. If you've got dependent children, make sure they're looked after. What's going to happen to them? Who's going to look after them in the event that you pass? We don't know what's around the corner. So if we can put these things in place now to protect ourselves, it makes the ones who are surviving and dealing with the grief of losing that person, makes their life just a fraction better. Not a whole lot better because they've lost you, but it makes it a fraction better on how to deal with it. But, and if this is not in place, you're just going to give them more pain and a whole world of pain for them. So
what is the difference between a real will and the one that is not good? What is the difference between each other?
Well, it depends on what's in it. If it's not, there's no not good ones. It just depends if it's not done properly. If it's not witnessed properly, then it's invalid. That's why I say spend the money, get it done once, put some provisions in. If you grow and have a family, you can cover off that. If you don't have a family, or, just put things in place now, and you probably won't need to do it for a long time because you've protected yourself and your family. Just get it will.
How many time in course of 30 years of life, in the next 30 years, how many times you should renew the will?
Anytime there's a life change event.
What is a life change?
Got divorced. Perhaps more children. And you haven't put a provision that, you've catered for children. For example, if you haven't put in a provision, we already had provision that we were going to have children or more children, so we covered that off if there's more children. But when you stipulate who the children are, it makes it easier to manage that document. In the event of sickness, what happens? Things like that. So if the will covers all that, that's fine. But you probably should check it every, 10 years to make sure. Look, a lawyer's the best one to explain that from a legal perspective when you need to check. I would say if nothing changes in 10 years, it's fine. But if things change, health changes, your family's parted company, you've got more children, you've got married, those are life event changes that you will need to be updated as a general rule of thumb.
Beautiful. Thank you, Karen. We are at the end of this second episode about wills. These important things, and I'm going to do my will because otherwise you Karen going to slap me.
I am. I'm going to harass you now.
Okay. Thank you so much, Karen. See you at the next episode. We're going to talk about investing 101 for couples. So be there and see you the next episode with Progress Over Perfection. Thank you, Karen. Ciao.
Thank you.